Hi, welcome to the final episode of Ignite Your Spark series here on the Life Expressions podcast. I'm your host, Charie Ginete-Ilon. Before I continue, allow me to encourage you to hit that subscribe button or follow button so that you'll be notified each time we have a new episode on the podcast. In the previous episodes, we focused on the elements of spark, service, purpose, attraction, and resilience. Today, we will dive deep into knowing. And to help us dive deep into that topic, we have a special guest with us, Ibrahim Inayatali. Ibrahim is the Regional Director of Planned Legacy Giving in North America at Aga Khan Foundation, USA. With 29 years of experience in the not-for-profit sector, he served as Vice President and Senior Consultant at Global Philanthropic Incorporated, leading fundraising projects in higher education, healthcare, arts and culture, social services, and international development across Canada and the U.S. Ibrahim holds an engineering undergraduate degree and 2 graduate degrees from McGill University and the University of Waterloo. He also volunteered with the Aga Khan Museum, University of Central Asia, and Aga Khan Foundation. Welcome to the podcast, Ibrahim.
Thank you so much, Charie, for this opportunity to participate in this podcast. And I'm particularly grateful for the opportunity I had to attend the Ignite Your Spark Masterclass that my dear friend Azim Jamal conducted recently. And so thank you so much for this opportunity.
It is my pleasure and honor to have you with us today, Ibrahim. Of course, joining me are our regular guests, a best-selling author, transformational speaker and coach, and my mentor, Azim Jamal. Welcome back, Azim.
Thank you.
And of course, we also have with us an inspiring leader, and she's becoming more popular and popular, my role model because of this podcast. Welcome back, Farzana Kherani. Hi, Farzana. How is everyone today? How are you, Ibrahim?
I'm doing very well, thank you. It's been a great weather here in Washington, D.C. for the last few days, so can't complain.
That's great. Azim and Farzana, as regular guests of the podcast, how has this series evolved for you and what excites you about today's topic, knowing? Let's start with you, Farzana.
It's been very inspiring, and it's been great to hear different perspectives of how Spark has changed people's lives and how it's evolved, not just for them, but how it's helped us evolve even as a person. Today, I'm looking forward to talking about knowing, not about knowledge, but knowing. And what does that mean?
Great, thank you. How about you, Azim?
With the masterclass, we went through 8 or 9 weeks of work and a whole workbook in each class. So there's a lot of stuff we had covered. By having the guests from the masterclass talking about the different components allows us to see what people are going back with and how they're making it practical in their life. And usually different components of the ideas come into play into real life. And it's quite exciting to do that, to be able to look at Spark from outside in.
Yeah, and I'm so thankful for the both of you for joining me in this series. It has been a life-changing experience for me as well, and always inspiring, always insightful, the both of you. And I'm glad to have with us Ibrahim talking about knowing. They say knowing is more than just knowledge, as Farzana has said. It's a deeper connection to oneself, a heightened sense of awareness and clarity in life's direction. For you, Ibrahim, what does knowing mean to you?
Thank you. Knowing in my world enables me to view a situation from a different lens than that might be if you were to look at the attributes that can be quantified or described in a narrative. So let me go a little deeper on that. So knowing requires seeking knowledge, sort of just quotes unquote knowledge, of a sort that is not readily available in books or in the media. So it implies acquiring an inner experience of sorts or a body of information that enables one to emotionally and intellectually understand a physical or factual phenomena. So let me look at it also differently. So what does it do to you from an everyday perspective? So knowing, if you were to kind of present it in a certain way, allows one to respond to situations in a deliberate and conscientious manner, which in turn reaffirms one's unique attributes in our personal quest in life. So in that respect, you can see that knowing is not the same as knowledge, because it is a different dimension of viewing the way you perceive things and be able to articulate it in your day-to-day life.
Yes. Azim, we have heavily discussed knowing in the masterclass. Can you share with our audience today what knowing is to the shall I say, context of igniting one's spark?
In a very succinct format, it will be a zero doubt. You have a zero doubt, it's a done deal. You have a knowing, it's a done deal. And when you have that, your calmness, your authenticity, your charisma, your comfort is very, very powerful. And it's not just in your words, but in your demeanor, in your body. Yeah. And I think knowing is something that, doesn't matter what other people think. It all matters what is within you, and that certainty allows you to go through the hurdles, the resilience, the attraction, the purpose, and the service because of that feeling and that confidence and that conviction, it's the right word, conviction of what it is all about, right?
For you, Farzana, how has knowing helped you in your personal life?
I think just feeling that confidence within me and understanding that you don't always have to go out and get that service. That service will come to you because you have that confidence, because you have that resilience and, that spark in itself. So I think that's why it's really helped me.
And for you, Ibrahim, has knowing helped you to a big decision where you didn't have any doubt?
Yes, certainly it did. So let me give you a pivotal moment in my life which made this happen. So in life, there are moments when your life gets transformed in an irrevocable manner. And one such moment was at the time when my mother passed away in Montreal in 1994. At that time, I was working in the operations department as CP Rail as a project manager, and you mentioned about my background in engineering. Following my mother's passing, I began to profoundly reflect on what her life meant to me and to our family. So just a bit of context, my mother was an educationist and she established various schools in her life, multiple schools. Her motto, as it appeared on her school logo, and I still carry it very proudly, and the logo was, "Knowledge leads life to sovereign power." I'll repeat it, "Knowledge leads life to sovereign power." So the idea of making a difference in the world through imparting knowledge resonated very powerfully with me. So I began to explore the idea of giving back by becoming involved with a knowledge-generating institution in my country of origin, which is Pakistan. So that led to my kind of discovery of what our opportunities are available. And then that led me to my moving out of the engineering field as CP Rail and joining the Aga Khan University in Pakistan in 1995. And as they say, the rest is history, and I continue over the past many years to serve in the not-for-profit sector. That has shaped most of my life over the past 30 years or so.
Yeah. Azim, with the experience of Ibrahim, because he had that knowing that it's going to work for him, how does this fit into igniting your spark, your zest for life, knowing that everything will just work in your favor?
It's really about the intention that you have. The intention attracts, right? So if you look at the format, you want to serve. So Ibrahim wanted to serve. So it comes from the beginning, service. He had a purpose. He wanted to serve to make impact. You had to cause a difference. So that's purpose. Then he had a goal to have an opportunity that would allow him to have the highest impact. That's when he attracted the position which he's doing now. Is in the global encounter, whatever, attracted this idea about planned legacy giving, which is people give after they die and part of their legacy they want to give, right? So that attracted them an outcome because the intention was there. Of course, he went through resilience because he didn't get a job first. He had to change jobs, he had to do whatever, and ended up where he ended up because that intention and that purpose was there. And finally, he has a knowing that he's in the right place. So it all connects. When you look at everything, it connects. And ultimately, it connects to the ultimate outcome that he is now creating in his life.
Yeah. Farzana, does knowing help in the role of leading people and helping people grow?
Absolutely. There's such a big significance in understanding your inner self, that inner conscience of how do I help people, but stay in a place where it's calm and understand that you have to be able to find that inner peace within you. But when you know, it's not always about that knowledge. It's not about how much you can share with the person about content. It's about that your inner self and how that love and compassion and that understanding of what those people need come out within you.
What are the habits that would lead you to this knowing, Azim?
There are three components which we discussed in the masterclass. The first one was meditation. So meditation is basically going inside and going inside and going inside, connecting with the spirit that you have within, which is the source of spark. So the quietness that you do is going inward, not outward. So that's the foundation. Yeah. The second part is creating a heightened awareness. How do you create a heightened awareness? It's by observing, not just seeing, by observing life. So you observe your life and you write your journal to say, what is happening in my life? Not what I think is happening, but what is really happening. So this creates heightened awareness because now you are seeing things from the root perspective, not from the symptom perspective. Because usually the same problems happen again and again and again in different ways because you're solving the symptom but not going to the root. So when you journal, you go to the root issue to understand the real depth, so you prevent the problem forever. Yeah, one of the things that we discussed in the past is about every single day when you go to sleep, you ask yourself, if I had to rewind the clock today and if God gave me a chance to relive the day today, what's the one thing I'll change? And if you do that every single day, I bet you're going to find at least one thing you would change and do it differently. And by so doing, every day you're becoming, transformational because you're changing your habits every single day. And the third part of knowing is the balance, which is, it's not the balance in the bank, but it's balance in your life. And what it means is there are 6 areas of your life: your work, your lifelong learning, your finance, your health, your family, and your spirituality. How these 6 areas come together. Now, the beauty here is, how do you make balance 24/7? And you can make balance 24/7 by doing everything. And I mean everything: the way you walk, and the way you talk, and the way you eat, and the way you do your business, and the way you run your family. Is with a grounding of spirituality, and 24/7 is spirituality. For example, if you're a parent and you inspire your children by giving them roots and wings. Roots is the principles and ethics you teach them, by role model them, that they apply in their life. And wings, the self-esteem you give them so they believe in themselves. So your parenthood becomes an act of spirituality because you are transforming your children. If you're doing a business and making money and becoming successful, and you're doing your business with values and ethics and principles and becoming successful and using your success to do good causes, do good work and help your family, your business becomes an act of spirituality. If you're a student studying in school and working very hard to become qualified and become learned and use your knowledge to make a difference in the world, your education becomes an act of spirituality. So when spirituality and materiality is married, you're balanced 24/7. And usually the spiritual and material is not divorced. We make it divorce, but it's not divorce. It's so intertwined. So 3 things: meditation, journaling, and balance.
There is balance in everything you do. And when you do all these things every day, in every way, you're getting better and better. Ibrahim, do you meditate, and in what manner do you do it?
Thank you for that question. My approach to turning to my inner wisdom, so to speak, is through regular practice of meditation, typically over a period of an hour, during which time you try and remove your thoughts of everyday life and then concentrate on seeking, whilst divine guidance, certainly that touches your soul. And that's the only part which is of life, which is eternal. So in a practical sense, this practice also allows you to cleanse one's life prism through which we view our world. So every day we live a life and there are things which happen over the course of that day or week or whatever. So we view our world in that way. So which is typically through the physical interactions. And therefore that the cleansing of that prism is really important because it creates clarity on our pathway from that point forward. It also brings, so you can focus on fulfilling one's life purpose, and that has been bestowed on you by the Creator. So in that way, there's multiple objectives which are kind of achieved through this act of meditation. So I think that is one way that one can think about mindful meditation and to turning into the inner wisdom, so to speak.
How about you, Farzana? How do you meditate, and how often do you do it?
I try every day to meditate for an hour. There definitely, it's not an easy task and you try really hard. But one thing that Azim shared with us was when it becomes natural, it will just happen. So, I felt like that's what would keep me going, and I would have the ability to wake up every day and meditate for an hour. And you find that you when you do meditate for that hour, I don't want to use the word spark because we use it so much, but it really is that spark for that day.
Yeah.
And you go about your day feeling this sense of inner power, inner balance, inner peace, where you're able to take on whatever comes. And it's day to day. It doesn't have to be something where you're doing week to week, right? Because each day you meditate, you know your day is going to be different. Every day is not going to be the same. So I think that strength is really there.
For someone who is struggling to meditate, Azim, what do you think is the best way to meditate and where?
Yeah, good question. I think firstly is, I guess this is my perspective. The more rules you have about meditation, the worse it gets. If I tell you right now, don't think of a monkey, what's the first thought?
You think of a monkey.
The more rules you have, the more problems become. So no rules. I mean, ideally, if you do it early morning, like for example, many of the people who are here in the call do the meditation from 4 to 5 a.m. where everybody's sleeping. So it's a time when the night is, just becoming morning, and that's a really powerful time to meditate. Now, everybody cannot wake up at 4 and do meditation. So early morning is better because the world is quiet. There's no noise around. If you're going to do meditation at 12 noon or 1 p.m. or 2 p.m., the world is very busy around you, very difficult to become quiet. Secondly, same place, same time. If you sit in the same place every day at the same time, you create memory. When I sit here, this is my meditation. This is not when I'm watching TV. This is not when I'm having dinner. This is not when I'm doing podcast. This is when I do meditation. So you find a spot. If you're going to the mosque or the church or the synagogue, it's different. But if you're doing it at home, keep a spot. This is my meditation spot. I have some clients, who I coach leaders. One of them meditates in the balcony. He goes in the balcony in the morning and he wakes up, takes a black cup of black coffee and goes in the balcony, sits there, watches the ocean across for half an hour. And that's his meditation. But it's every day at the same place. The other person I have has a sofa in his house, which is what is dedicated to meditation. He also takes a black coffee. I don't take black coffee when I'm having meditation. I take nothing. But anyway, he sits there for half an hour, 45 minutes, 20 minutes, just quiet. And that starts their day, right? So whatever it is, same place, same time, creates memory, creates energy, and no rules. Basically, you're quiet, right? You're quiet, and hopefully thoughts will come, by the way. As you know, we think 60,000 thoughts a day, and 10,000 thoughts are of the future and 50,000 of the past, right? So thoughts will come, but one of the secret is not to fight the thoughts. Let the thoughts come and go. So I think of Charie, I think of Ibrahim, I think of Farzana, but I let you go in and out. I don't give you a cup of tea and some samosas and kebabs. No, I let you come and go. Because I don't want you to come and sit in my thoughts. I don't mind you coming and going. Now, this aspect of coming and going is meditation, because there's a little gap between one thought and the other. And the gap is the power. And the gap can be 1 second or a millionth of a second, doesn't matter. But the gap is the power. So the more you allow thoughts to come and go, the more you're relaxed, the more you're meditating. The more you cling to one thought, now you go to thinking.
There's another aspect of knowing, which is looking at oneself, introspection, and that brings us to journaling. Ibrahim, do you have a journaling habit, and how has it helped you so far?
Yeah, thank you for that question. So I have a habit of regularly writing outcomes of interactions with the colleagues and my contacts. Now, that serves not only as a record of what was discussed or what has transpired, but it also allows me to reflect on the purposes served and the inner drivers for all the parties involved. So in some respects, it is serving as a GPS for me. And because if the notes of the journal, suggest a course of correction is needed. And so in taking the next steps which are in your control, you can steer future interactions to the proper direction for that to happen. So in that respect, this exercise of writing and reflection and finding a course forward is really an important way of my tracking my journey along the way.
I like that. Azim, you have shared with us many times that in journaling, every single day before you end your day, you could write, if there's one thing I could do to change and relive my day, what will be it? I find that very powerful. Are there other powerful prompts that you could share with us that would help us to diligently and habitually do journaling?
If you have a challenge with your spouse, with your kids, with your business partner, with your ex, whoever it is. Sit down and say, what is it that's bothering me? What is it that's bothering me? And you go deeper. And you realize what you think is bothering is not what's bothering you. There's something different bothering you. But you have to really go deep and say, is this bothering me? Okay, if it's bothering me, what's the worst can happen here? And you realize the worst can happen, you won't die. And even if you die, it doesn't matter, you're dead. So but by writing, you get clarity, you get insight. And you're able to then peel the onion and go to the source. This is what's bothering me. And the fact, as Ibrahim was saying, the fact that you're writing is giving you that comfort. You're taking all the problems from here, putting on paper. So those are the kind of things that you want to do. And of course, in terms of the day, refining your day, it's really going back and saying, when I woke up in the morning, what did I do? I'll share this example. If you don't mind, I can share the example.
Yes.
I was in Puerto Rico once. It's a good example because I woke up early. I did my meditation in my home. And then I had a few meetings. So I went for the meeting. I took a walk from my apartment to my client's house. I was invited for breakfast and I had a call to do in Dubai. So I was taking my call in my headphone and walking to my client's house. And I got to his house. There's a park outside. I hadn't finished my call. So I finished my call. I went to see my client. We had breakfast. We had a great meeting. My another client picked me up from his house. And she took me to lunch with her father, with her brother, with her daughter, with her niece. And we were doing a family vision, mission, values exercise at lunchtime. So we did that, right at lunchtime. And then I went for a walk from Ocean Park in Puerto Rico to Caribbean Hilton, 45-minute walk. And the client said, I can drop you. I said, no, I want to walk because I have 2 calls to make. So I was walking to the hotel and I took 2 calls, one from Toronto about with my uncle. There was a issue I didn't discuss with him. And there's one call from Edmonton about global encounter. And so I did the 2 calls, 45 minutes. And then when I was at the hotel, I had another meeting in the evening for dinner at the client's house. So, but I had a couple of hours left. So I called my client. I said, what time do you want to come? He said, come now. I said, no, let me go and take a shower and dress up and come because he had called some guest home. So I wanted to go formal. So I went and dressed up and went to his house. We had dinner, we had networking. Then I went home to my apartment. And before I went to sleep, I looked at my emails for an hour. And then when I was writing my journal, what will I change? I said, I won't change the meditation. I won't change the walk to my client. I won't change the breakfast with my client. I won't change the lunch with my other client. I won't change the walk to Caribbean Hilton, making calls to Edmonton and Toronto. I won't change the dinner, but I would change the emails. These emails I watched looked for an hour, missed my sleep. Because there were hundreds of emails. My mind was all over the place. I couldn't sleep. So I said, tomorrow, no more looking at emails at night. I should look at it at 4 p.m. something and then forget about it, right? Yeah. So one thing I could change, even though the day was very productive for me. Yes. So every day, no matter how productive your day is, the chances are 100% you can change at least one thing or do something a little bit different.
Yeah, that's great. I have also published an I Am Unstoppable journal. And in my journal, I have prompts there that would allow the person writing to end his or her day on a positive note. So my prompts would be, what has made me smile today? What am I thankful for today? And so when you sleep, you are on a positive note. You end your day on a positive note because the prompts are also positive. Farzana, what are the common barriers that people face in self-reflection? Like, are you berating yourself? Are you doing positive self-talk? So what should they do when they look at themselves and how can they overcome the negative thoughts?
I think this is something that I've learned is that fear of confronting your own feelings. And when you write it down, you know it's in your head and it's in your heart. But when you write it down, now it's on paper. So it makes it real. And when you actually can write it down and face that, then you know you're going in a positive direction. Because you have the ability then to make that change. And you can transform that into, yes, I'm feeling this fear of whatever that is, but how do I turn that into something where it's become a part of me and the good part of me? It to be a negative. And so I think, that daily reflection is really important, that focusing on positive actions that you've taken throughout the day is important. But also, what was that fear that happened today? Because all of us fear something. And if you don't have today, that's fabulous. You had a really good day. But if you did, write it down because then you're able to change what that is.
Yeah, you're going to overcome those feelings, right? When you acknowledge. I just remember this prayer asking for courage to change the things you can, the strength to accept the things you cannot, and the wisdom to know the difference.
Yes.
When you have that mindfulness, you would have the wisdom to know the difference, right? Ibrahim, how has these things worked for you in your personal and professional life, having meditation and journaling, having that synergy of success?
Yeah, it comes down to that one magic word, balance, right? And all of this kind of gives you that gravitas, that feeling that your life is in balance. So the notion of balance generates the idea that we live a life of purpose in all these dimensions, and we do not squander the precious time we have in our life drawn to extreme ends of the spectrum in each of these areas. So I try to maintain this balance, and it has been especially important for me in recent years as you grow older, of course. One of the ways I do this by questioning how my actions will affect the attainment of both personal and professional objectives. So every action has two dimensions: our adhering to personal ethics and ensuring personal and family obligations are fulfilled. But at the same time, you want to also ensure the fulfillment of your professional goals and making material progress. So it's that notion of all of these methods and approaches and reflections that allows you to maintain that balance.
That's great. Ibrahim, you said maintaining balance. Azim, how would you know that you have balance in your life?
Great question. I think, in my work with leaders across the world, I realize they're looking for three things. Doesn't matter which leader it is. It could be, Jeff Bezos. It could be Tim Cook. It could be Richard Branson. Doesn't matter. They're all looking for three things. Number one, they're looking for business success. What does it mean? Everybody's in business. Even a housewife is in business. The housewife has to maintain the budget from the home. A house husband has to maintain the budget at home. A teacher is in business to educate and inspire the children. So everybody is in business to make some money and create some kind of impact in life. So everybody is looking for business success. Then comes the balance, the 6 areas we talked about: family, health, spirituality, lifelong learning, finance, and your work, right? And then the other third area is that deep, deep desire to find meaning, to find purpose, and to find happiness. And that's why at Corporate Sufi, we have made it our mission to inspire leaders to achieve material success blended with a deep sense of purpose, balance, and happiness. And it comes from the synergy of business, balance, beyond. So balance is the craft. Balance is how do you take business and beyond and combine them. So you're successful in business, so you're able to sustain your life, you're able to sustain your work, but you're also able to find happiness, fulfillment, peace, and all that. And so that's where the balance comes in. And I think, as I mentioned earlier, how do you make balance 24/7? So it's not that I'm acquiring balance, I'm living a balanced life, because everything I do is centered around that spirituality and has the material impact of making impact in people's life, but also creating success in my life so I can sustain my success.
That's great. Having that balance 24/7. Farzana, how can you say, hey, I have balance in my life?
Balance is something where you find things within. And so when you have your priorities, and it doesn't have to be 20, it can be just 3, you're finding your balance, right? You know what's important to you and you need to get those things done. So whether it's business or personal or family, financial, whatever those components kind of fit into, that's where you find your balance. I think you can increase your balance. You can make 3 to 5 to 10, but then you lose that perspective of what's important. And then it becomes not about, this is my priority. It becomes somebody else. That's their priority. And that's what I'm focusing on. And again, something Azim taught us well in our course, and having the privilege of doing this multiple times already, it's allowed me to evolve, and that's, I think, the most important thing is balance isn't something that's just going to happen. You're going to evolve, and that balance will evolve with you, but that's the core.
Wonderful. Ibrahim, if you could leave one final message on the power of knowing, what would it be?
Yeah, really good question. And it kind of comes down to my experience that we had during the course of the masterclass on Ignite Your Spark. So I want to share just quickly 2 takeaways that I learned. And it all comes down to the idea of having the right right balance. And of course, the idea of knowing in its inner and its true sense. So the first component, if I may, is the idea of legacy. I know Azim mentioned about the type of work that I currently do, and it really speaks to what knowing means to me. So we are all leading a life whereby we leave a legacy behind for the next generation, our families, colleagues, in the world at large. So the masterclass reinforced me that the idea of by leading a life of purpose, which is our unique birthday gift, so to speak, our legacies will be derived in a manner that provides the most impactful and meaningful satisfaction. And the second component is the idea of achieving this balance in all its dimensions of our life: spiritual, family, material, professional, and community. So if I may say so, that by the idea of knowing in its true sense allows us to think about the idea that we are leaving behind the most profound, to our best ability, legacy for the future generations, and the idea that we have led a life which has been fulfilling, it's been balanced, and it helps us meet the various dimensions of our obligations in the world.
Thank you so much for that, Ibrahim. How about you, Farzana? What's your final message?
I would say advocate for acceptance instead of creating unnecessary struggles, right? Within yourself, right? I think you find a better balance that way. I think there's profound meaning to not worrying about what's happening materialistically in the world and not feeling attached to something, where then you feel like you're having a healthier life because you're not sad that something broke, right? It's just material. It's not something that's important. So that inner peace, that spiritual peace that you have, I think can make a huge impact.
Wow. Thank you so much. Azim, looking back at the 5 elements: service, purpose, attraction, resilience, and knowing, what is the key takeaway for the audience?
The ultimate purpose credo, how your life is going to be defined, when you get crystal clarity around that, that becomes a good foundation for you. And around that, hopefully that ultimate purpose credo is created by understanding and knowing your birthday gift, what you're born with. And you open your gift and use it to achieve that credo that you have. And then around it, you set affirmation, the affirmation attraction. This is what I want. This is what I want to become. This is who I am, not what I have, but who I am. And so you align your affirmation attraction to your ultimate purpose credo using your birthday gift, and then you create your service mantra around that. So my service mantra is using my gift that I was born with to align to my ultimate purpose credo, and I'm affirming it every which way. So I'm attracting circumstances, people, accidents, and becoming a living magnet that attracts all this for me to achieve my outcome. So that in a nutshell summarizes the SPARK framework. You asked a question earlier about some practical tools about balance, right? And I would like to share a couple of them. One is, the idea about, that less is more, slow is fast, and small is big. What do I mean? Less of things which are very important is better than doing more of things that are not important. So don't judge your success or your balance by more, but as Farzana was saying, look at them as less priorities and more impact, right? That's one. Small is big in terms of sometimes small things that you do in your household, connects the love with your children, with your spouse, with your parents. Those small things are big. Everything that you're doing is to achieve those small things, but you're so busy trying to achieve big things, there's no time for the small things. And the third aspect is slow is fast, is slow down. Slow down to speed up. When you slow down to build relationships, deep relationships, lasting relationships, you're speeding up for long-term impact, long-term friendship, long-term connection, business, whatever it is, right? So those 3 are very important. And the last part about practicality is something I wrote maybe 20 years ago when I did my work on corporate Sufi. I called it the hour of power. You do exercise, you do meditation, and you do read some uplifting first thing in the morning. So if you wake up an hour early, you do 20 minutes so exercise, and then some meditation and some reading something uplifting. So there's something for your body exercise, something for your mind reading, and something for your soul meditation.
Yes.
That small thing can change your whole day. And my good friend Robin Sharma has written a book around it, 5 a.m. Club, and a great book. talking about this whole concept and elaborating the whole thing around this, right? So there are some practical things we can all do to create balance in our life, to create meaning in our life, and to create the knowing that we talked about today, but it connects the whole spark.
Yes.
And then you have a twinkle in your eye, your brows are unwrinkled, you've got a smile on your face, your heart is open, there's an echo in your voice, and you're flowing and oozing with energy. That's the spark that you have.
Wow. It's great to have a spark in our lives and to share that spark as well with the people in our lives. Thank you so much for your time and wisdom, Ibrahim. And of course, Farzana and Azim, this has been a great experience for me. Our series ends today on Ignite Your Spark, but the journey of igniting your spark does not end here. If you would want to continue learning about igniting your spark, you can visit corporatesufi.com/spark-masterclass, and you have an opportunity to join the masterclass and have that intention to help yourself ignite your spark and have that zest for life. Thank you so much for being with me on this podcast and joining me in this series. Allow me to share with you that this has been a great journey for me as well. And I have solidified my ultimate purpose credo, and I'd like to share it with you once more in this series. I am creating a positive impact wherever I am, in all that I do, however I can. I'm Charie Ginete-Ilon. Till next time, here on Life Expressions.